Was that awesome or what? That was great. That was worth celebrating. Now, the offense took a whole half to get ready, but the defense bailed him out. Quinnen is playing like the superstar that we knew was in him. Now he's making the type of plays that we've been waiting for Quinnen to make. And I thought he was going to do it last year, all honesty, and I didn't think he'd necessarily become a superstar right away, because if you take a look at what happened at Alabama, he basically was a nobody for his first 2.5 years. And all of a sudden, boom, he became a superstar like overnight in one season. I kind of felt some players are like that. I kind of felt, all right, maybe that's what Quinnen will do with us. Maybe it'll take him a couple of years, but I thought last year was the year. So it's a year later. It's okay. I'm fine with it, because last year we weren't very good anyway. We kind of sucked. So this year is the perfect year for him to become a superstar, and this is awesome. What I also think is awesome is on defense is that you're getting the contributions from John Franklin Myers. Finally is stepping back up again. By the way, Michael Clemens played well today. We made a few plays, and really everybody along the line except Bryce Huff played well. You should give him credit. Vinny Curry made a play too. I wonder who sat out with Vinny Curry coming in, because Clemens played. Oh, Jermaine Johnson, because he had that injury situation. So that's probably why. I still would like to see Bradley and A get a chance over Huff, because Huff's done nothing. But hey, no reason to complain today. Sauce is turning into a superstar before our eyes as well. That's great. Reed is a very solid number 2 corner. And remember early on in the season when there was all this miscommunication going on in the secondary, and then Reed talked to the coaches, and then after that talk, Reed was like, "Hey, we settled it. Everything is settled now. We got the message across." And I was like, and we came out on that. I think that was the first reaction video, and I said, "All right, we'll see. I'm gonna hold him to that." And sure enough, the last 3 games, no miscommunication issues in that secondary. That is great to see at this early stage too. You got to keep in mind, these guys have never played together before. None of them. Reed is new. Joyner was out last year, so he's still basically new. Whitehead's new. Gardner's new. And then of course you got the other guys that have chipped in. And Carter was here obviously last year. Eccles. This is what's great about the depth we have now in the secondary, is that Eccles can come off the bench and we're fine. That's what happens when you throw those guys out in the fire like we did last year. They got that kind of playing time, Carter and Eccles. So that was really nice. I tell you what, and I know Coach talked about it as well. He said, "Don't jinx." Somebody brought up something about an injury or something like that, and Coach was like, "Don't jinx us." But remember, I said that in the off season, and I said it in our preseason show, in our preseason preview. What did I say? The most important thing would be, first and foremost, if we were going to be able to have a shot at being a playoff contender, it was number 1. It was not number 1 by a little bit. It was 1 by a mile. Staying healthy. And so far, they've stayed healthy. And now you see what happens when your team can stay healthy. Okay? Because they get to play together. And I also think it's interesting, because Coach said this during the press conference this week as well. He said how, guys, when things are going well and you're winning, there's a little bit more. I forget exactly how he said it, but it was like what he was basically saying was that when you have a winning team and things are going well and you get banged up, it's easy to come back. When you have a losing team, and this is why we've been saying this for the last few years, and why this goes on in the NFL for as long as I've been following it, you have these monster injury lists on losing teams. And it's not because guys can't play. They don't want to play. They're not willing to go that extra mile. They have an injury. It shows up on a scan or wherever. Doctor says, yes, they do have the injury, but it's up to pain threshold, that kind of thing. Well, hey, man, my pain threshold isn't very good. We're 1-6. What am I going to say? I'm not going to ruin my career over this 1-6 football team. And that's why a lot of times losing teams will have a huge laundry list of injuries. Winning teams, when things are going well, they get a little bit more of, I'd say about at least 35 to 50% of the injuries that would be on a losing team's list are not on the list for a winning team. The rest are just real injuries. Nothing you can do about it. But so far, so good. It's still early, and it's not like we've been injury free because no team is injury free. You know, we've had Becton out, we've had Brown out for the first few games. Mitchell went out. I think the thing that really worked out for us, at least, was that we were able to sign Brown. Imagine if Brown wasn't available, we were able to sign him. Then Brown was able to come back just when Mitchell got hurt. So there were a lot of things. And then Herbig, what a big pickup that's been. Offensive guard that was on our practice squad when the season began is now definitely part of our starting line. And I'm not even, what can you say about Vera Tucker? I mean, the guy has just been amazing. So the offensive line has done a very good job. Very good job. Zach had a bad game. What am I going to say? It's interesting how Zach, it happened last year and it's happening again this year. You know how coach talks about we got to get off the faster starts. Well, the quarterback is such a big part of any NFL team, right? This is becoming a Zach thing, I think. Zach is the one that has to get started quick because there's something going on with Zach early in games where it's taking him until the third or the fourth quarter. Then all of a sudden he looks like a completely different quarterback. It's almost like, all right, yeah, I'm warmed up. Let's go. Hey, it's a game now. Let's go. I mean, dude, okay, let's start to figure a way to start a little bit quicker. So we're not always behind offensively, because again, the offense was terrible. And I think, like I said, I'm pretty sure what happened was early on, you had a couple of teams that had been practicing all week, and they knew the offenses back and forth. And what happened though is a few things changed in the second half. It wasn't a lot. One thing that changed was the Jets decided to run the football more. They got rid of that first down passing nonsense, and we're just going to run it. Breece Hall, superstar. Matter of fact, remember last week I was wondering where Breece Hall was early in the game, and I said at the end of the reaction video, he's got to start now. Enough. Breece Hall's got to start, and I'm glad he did. So didn't help him because they really didn't. Even though he was doing okay, they were throwing the ball a little bit. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but Zach just wasn't on. So they were trying to pass and run, and Zach was awful, and everything Zach did was terrible, and they just couldn't get anything going. But then once they decided to just zero in and just, we're going to run the football, their offense, and then all of a sudden, again, Zach woke up in the second half, so it made us look a little bit better offensively. What also helped was our defense. Our defense was fantastic. Special teams, after we got the block punt, we came back and blocked the punt, scored a touchdown. So even though we have 27 on the board, it's really 20 on offense. And the defense, really, if you look at it, I think the defense probably accounted for about 10 points in all. I would say about 10. Might even be more, to tell you the truth. Because we had the one really good drive. Our best drive was when Green Bay scored to go up 17-10. That was our best drive. We marched down the field, scored a touchdown, 24-10. The game was pretty much over, but we had to get that one last stop, and we got it. So special teams, after looking suspect early on, came up big. And then ROC, who's, he had his critics last year, came up big. LaFleur came up big. He made some nice calls. He made the call on the Braxton Berrios touchdown run. He made that call on the, I don't even know what that was, the trap delay, whatever that was. That was a weird kind of diagrammed play, and it worked perfectly for a touchdown. That was great. So he had some really cool play calls. That was nice. One thing that is not working out for us, and I do not think it's Zach's fault, because it happened when Joe was the quarterback. We are not getting separation from our receivers. Now, I'm not going to blame Garrett Wilson because he's a rookie, and if anybody has gotten open, it's been Garrett. When it happened more with Flacco for some strange reason, maybe because teams are now zeroing in more on Garrett, but Elijah is not getting open, and I don't know why. And Corey, Corey should be getting open too. Now, I think what's going to happen is, as we continue to run the ball more effectively, teams are now going to have to try to stop our run more, And it's going to then become important for our wide receivers to gain separation. Because where is Elijah Moore gone? I mean, he's done statistically nothing. And remember when we drafted this kid, and after some of the plays he made last season, there was so much hope that Elijah Moore was going to be a top, like #1 type of receiver. Ain't happening. Not even close. And I don't know why. I don't know what's happening. I really don't. And they're not going to tell us. I wish our reporters would ask the question. Not sure we'd get an honest response, but nobody's getting open. And that is making it difficult for Zach. Because the only guys that are open for Zach, it seems like, are Breece Hall and a tight end. Conklin on most passes. But other than that, maybe a slant. You can get the ball to these guys, but anything like 15, 20 yards down the field, these guys are not getting open. And Zach needs these guys to get open. I mean, Zach is a gunslinger at heart. He wants to throw the ball deep. He wants to open up the offense. These guys are not getting open. They have got to figure out a way to do their jobs. Lastly, one thing I want to say, and I was thinking about this the other day, what really is so great now that we've looked at our rookies from this class and how they performed. Oh, by the way, you know what I would do? One more thing. And Jeff Smith played again, by the way. Why don't you let Denzel play? Really? Why not? What can hurt? How can you hurt to let Denzel play? I mean, trade deadline's coming up in a couple of weeks. Maybe they don't want to get him hurt. I don't know. Because Denzel might just, I pulled a hamstring, pay me for the rest of the season. I don't know. But I just think that if none of these other guys are going to get open, then maybe Denzel can get open. Why don't you give him a chance? He's had an extra 5 or 6 weeks to understand how to play on special teams. I'm sure he's practicing during the week. So I don't know. That's just something to keep in mind, because there are teams out there, good teams, that need receiver help. The Packers are one of them. I mean, the brothers know each other. I don't know what they would give up. Packers don't usually give up draft picks or do much with receivers, as we know. But maybe they'd be willing to give up some sort of a draft pick for Mims, because they can use some help at wide receiver. Anyway, let's get back to what I was going to say. And that is that with this draft class, right now, Joe Douglas knows, got my quarterback, I've got my #1 running back, I've got my #2 running back too. I have my #1 receiver. I've got my #2 receiver. Okay. I have 1 long-term tackle and maybe 2. Who knows? Maybe Mitchell can play left tackle. Maybe Vera Tucker can play right tackle. Who knows? But he probably says, "Look, I've got a center that could be here for the next few years, and we can win with." So I've got the tackle situation looking pretty good. We could probably use 1 more guy if Becton doesn't come through. We can't count on Becton. So maybe we could do something there. Definitely, unless, because that's the one tight end, there's one player from the draft, one of the draft players in this class that we haven't really seen yet. And it's going to take a while before we know whether or not we have our future tight end. But tight end, we still don't know about, but we can give that another year. Offensive line, yeah, maybe we could use another guy, definitely. Another long-term top starter guy. But we have our quarterback, we have our top running back, we have our top receivers. We have our, as far as the defensive line, we have a good group of young defensive linemen. We have our shutdown corner. So generally, if you look at it, when you're a GM and you go into the draft and you're thinking about check marks, what do we need as far as the future? There's a lot of check marks now that Joe is going to be able to cross off. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't. Just a couple of years ago, needed. Remember, we were going to the draft a couple of years ago. We were thinking, well, we need everything. We need just about everything. Now we don't need this. We don't need that, and that. And you know how that makes it much more easier to now. And we even said it in the last draft when we talked about the draft in this past April. We said it's time for us to draft for quality over quantity. We got the quantity the last couple of years, especially last year. Now we did the quantity, and that's exactly what he did. That's why none of our draft picks were past the 4th round. All quantity. Trade up, quantity. I see them doing that again next year. We're going to need quantity. Let's get a couple of more really good players here. Maybe, like I said, maybe another offensive lineman thrown in there. Maybe another linebacker for sure. Definitely. I would put that at the top of the list on defense. Linebacker, a young, up-and-coming linebacker they could draft. Someone Robert Saleh can mold. And that's awesome to think that, you know what? The future, it's not, that's what it's about. It's about thinking about, man, we've got the pieces now. The pieces are there. And they're just going to grow together. And now we just got to find out whether or not they can win together. So what a win. What a fantastic win. That was awesome. And it was great because there wasn't the pressure of losing. We were the dogs coming in, rightly so. And that's why I mean, you even saw it the last couple of weeks. I mean, I was probably doing this 80% of the show, 88% of the video. I think I did this once today. I don't remember what it was. It might have been for the block punt. I don't remember. And I definitely only raised my voice negatively like once or twice, and that was really that drive, that referee. We're going to just throw the flag on the Jets drive. But I look, I should say this because the Jets had what, 2 more roughing. I think they had 3 roughing calls again today. 2 that could have ended drives and kept the Packers drives going. And for the first time, I believe this season, we did not suffer any consequences from it. I might be wrong. I think maybe that Packer touchdown. Did we have a personal foul? Yes, we did, but I think they declined that one. That was the one that was declined, I believe. So I think I think we had 3. One was declined, didn't matter, and the other 2, that was Shepard's one. And Shepard, he's got to stop it. Stop. I mean, I don't, he's not making any plays, but he's a big dude, and I'm sure he's doing a really good job with the rest of the guys. Of you bring in more depth, guys that have got to be physical, and that's what Shepard is. But he has this personal foul stuff he's got going on. And matter of fact, coach talked about it. Yeah, he's done a lot better because he was really bad at it last year, and he's been really improving on that. But again, it happened. It didn't cost them. They got to fix that. What I don't want to see is at the end of the season in a critical game, let's hope playoff game. Not that I hope this happens, but let's hope we're in one. Let's hope we're in contention. But when you kind of put an identity on your team about certain things that work against you, it usually follows you if you don't clean it up pretty quickly. Sooner or later, we got to start cleaning this up, or we're going to get into a big game at the end of the season, and it's going to be, we have to stop this team, 2-minute drive to end the game and to move on or to clinch a playoff berth. And on 4th down, we're going to stop them, and there's going to be a flag on the field, and they're going to say a personal foul penalty on the Jets, and that team is going to score and is going to beat us and knock us out of contention or out of the playoffs. That's why it's got to stop sooner or later. It has to stop. Okay? Got to stop it. And I know it's not easy because these guys are physical and they played awesome today. But you can see there are times that you can play awesome. I believe that you can do this. I really do. I don't think it's something that, you play with your hair on fire and these penalties are going to happen. No. There's a discipline to it. There's a mindset to it. You've got to stop it now before it hurts you permanently. But what a game. Said it in the open. First thing, they have to play their best game of the season. The Jets just played their best game of the season. This is a game, finally, even though we got the Pittsburgh win and the Cleveland win, we got the Cleveland win on some fluky situation and an onside kick, which is not necessarily fluky because you got to make a play, and we did. Give us credit. But still, that never happens. Beat Pittsburgh coming from behind down 10. So that wasn't necessarily pretty. Beat the Dolphins. We knocked out their starting quarterback, and then a 7th round draft pick came in. So that wasn't necessarily pretty. So we really hadn't put together a really solid 4-quarter, for the most part, especially defensively, football game for us to be proud about. For us to say, you know what? I want to watch this game again. Because I haven't watched any of these games. When I was younger, I mean, especially like if I had this technology when I was a Jet fan, like when I was younger, 15 years old, 12 years old, 18, whatever, I would be like nonstop watching as much film as I can get. I'd be like all over the place. Yeah, because obviously too, when I'm not young, I don't really have a whole lot of responsibilities. But even like when I was in my 30s, and maybe even my early 40s, I'd be looking for, hey man, I got this film. I'm gonna watch this. Jets won. Hey, Jets won. I'm gonna watch the game 2 or 3 times. I'm gonna really dive into this game. Well, then again, I'd have to be. I'm almost 50. 54 now. So 12 years. So yeah, it'd have to be early 40s for me to actually wanna watch a Jet game over again. I was early 40s when they went to the Rex Ryan championship games. So, but you understand my point. But I don't have the time, and those games really weren't that. And you saw my reaction during those wins, those last couple of wins. I mean, why would I want to watch those games again all over again? This one, offensively, yeah, very fast forward, but yeah, and I won't because I want to really take a look and see. And I'm not talking a condensed version. For the first time this season, I am going to feel really, really happy about watching the full version and just sitting back and kind of relaxing and looking. Jets beat the Packers. They beat Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field. And their defense kicked the Packers' ass. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see you next week. The Denver Broncos. Can't lose that one. No. Can't lose to Denver. No. They're coming off a Monday night, too. So that's good. So they'll be coming off back-to-back national network games. So hopefully we can get Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos next week and keep this rolling along. 3-0 on our reaction videos. How about that? I like that. I like it. Okay. Oh, I haven't even said it. Probably shouldn't have waited till the end. Please subscribe to the video because I can't get these videos monetized. Okay. So keep that in mind. The only reason I do this is just, for the channel. Yes. But for the subscriptions and the likes and definitely comment section, let us know what you think about the Jets, about the game, about my reactions, whether you agree or disagree with anything that I've said. Yes, all that stuff. That's what matters as far as the time and effort I put into the reaction videos because I cannot monetize these because of the NFL rights and all that other stuff. So, but hey, you know what? We'll keep doing them. Why not, man? With 3-0. And we'll see you next week. And don't forget, we'll be back as far as our channel. We'll be back on the air if you're a NASCAR fan. I think that's our next show. But I have some other interviews lined up real soon that I'm going to try to book. I'm not sure for when. Hopefully early in the week, college, NFL. We always try to get at least one interview in, if not a couple of them. So stay tuned for that. That's why subscribing to the channel is also really cool because you'll know whenever these videos are available, whenever we have someone on that we can talk to. Oh, you know what? I will book the Denver Broncos analyst. I will definitely do that. So look out for that. I'll talk some Denver Bronco football for sure this week. Well, I'm not going to speak for the analyst, but I feel pretty good about getting him on, and then obviously that'll have a lot to do. We'll preview the game in that interview. So that's one that definitely we'll put together. And if you gamble or have any fantasy football, our weekly show with Mark Lawrence, one of the legends in the gambling industry and the handicapping industry, is with me every Thursday or Friday. I know I've been posting them late in the last couple of weeks, but I'm lining up to make sure that we get them in on Thursday this week. I've changed a few things because we got to get them in earlier. But we have our Mark Lawrence handicapper there. We also have our fantasy segment with Draft Sharks with Jared Smola and Matt Schaff. And then I have another segment I have in there as well. But the bottom line is we're talking NFL, we're talking college football, handicapping, and a little fantasy mixed in there as well. So that's that, and that's a long show too. Those are 2.5 hour shows, but we have the markers in the bottom of the screen, and it lets you know what we talk about. So you don't have 2.5 hours of time. You can pick and choose exactly what games we're covering, what specific topics we're covering, and that's on the markers at the bottom of the screen. So again, right now we're doing NASCAR every week. We have our NFL and college football shows every week as well. And I think that's it. Looking at our schedule, besides of course our horse racing show, which has done a great job, and we're leading up in the next few weeks to a very big event, the Breeders' Cup. So we should get some really good traffic for that. And if you're a horse racing fan and you love the Triple Crown and the Breeders' Cup, then hopefully you'll join us for the coverage that we will really start gearing high into starting next week. With our horse racing analysts, our professional trainer, Chad Summers, and of course, professional handicapper, John Hardoon. So that'll be it for our Jets coverage. Hopefully, I can get Jan on sometime soon. I know he's had a lot of the holiday schedule. That's the reason why we haven't been able to touch base. But when Jan gives me a call and says I'm available, we'll do another show in the middle of the week and talk some Jet football with Jan. But for now, if we don't have a middle of the week show, I will see you guys again next week when the Jets take on the Denver Broncos in Denver, and they look to go 5-2.